Hello, students. Now I'll begin with the poem The Sea and the Skylark by G.M. Hopkins. In the earlier video, I introduced Hopkins to you. Today, I'll be giving you an introduction to the poem The Sea and the Skylark, and along with this, I'll begin with the explanation of the poem. This sonnet was written in 1877 in a seaside town a few miles from St. Bruno's College, where Hopkins lived for 3 years, that is, from 1874 to 1877, to complete his theological studies. The theme of this sonnet is a contrast between the life-giving purity of nature and the sordidness of the civilization that man is creating. The town mentioned in the poem is Rhyl in Wales, but the poem is not an attack particularly on that town or the Welsh people. It is a general meditation on nature and man, occasioned by a particular scene. This poem is a sonnet, and the polarity of the title is between water and air, the sea and the skylark, representative of nature. The body of the poem, more specifically in the last 6 lines, introduces a third point of reference, and that is earth inhabited by man. The poet hears two natural sounds, the sound of the sea waves breaking against the shore and the sound of the skylark singing in the air. He feels much impressed by these sounds, the elemental purity of which he proceeds to contrast with the shallow and frail town, with its sordid, turbid look and atmosphere. He laments the fact that man, the lord and pride of creation, has lost that joy and zest which belonged to the morning of the human race. Finally, he makes the sad prophecy that the static and dynamic aspects of man, which are now in the process of decay and disintegration, will utterly collapse, and man, deprived of all his vitality and creativity, will find himself moving fast towards that original state of slime from which he had emerged. Man, through his activities, has set in motion a reversal of the creative process which suggests a return to the primal swamp from which he came. Referring to these last lines of the poem, a critic says, to quote, "If the image seems exaggerated, it nevertheless prefigures that reality of polluted towns and rivers, which Hopkins was to experience later in industrial Lancashire." Now, this was the introduction of the poem The Sea and the Skylark. Now, let's begin with the text of the poem and its explanation. The poem is a sonnet, so it has 4 lines. The first stanza reads, "On ear and ear, two noises, too old to end, trench. Right, the tide that rams against the shore. With a flood or a fall, low lull off, or all roar. Frequenting there while moon shall veer and wend." Now, before beginning with the explanation of the poem, I'll tell you the meanings of some difficult phrases and words. To begin with, the very first line, ear and ear. The reference is to both ears of the poet. Then in the next line, the word is trench. Trench means impress themselves. Then in the second line only, right. Right means from the right hand. The tide. It is here used to mean the sea waves. ramps against the shore. It means breaks against the seashore. Then in the third line, a flood or a fall. It means that the shore is flooded when the wave strikes against it, but then the wave retreats, leaving the shore drenched but not flooded till the next wave comes. Low lull of or all roar. It means there is a lull or a pause after the wave strikes against the shore and then retreats. But when the next wave comes, there is all roar or a big noise. Then in the fourth line, frequenting there. The sea waves will continue to frequent or visit the shore. Where? Become smaller in size. Wane and wend. Grow bigger in size. Wax. While moon shall veer and wend. This is in the fourth line of the stanza. This means that as long as the waxing and waning of the moon continue to occur. We need to know here that the tides in oceans are caused by the attraction which moon exercises upon them. So as long as the moon lasts in the sky, the tides will continue. Now let's do the explanation of this stanza, the first stanza. I'll read out the stanza once again, and in continuation I'll give you the explanation. On year and year, two noises too old to end. Trench, right, the tide that ramps against the shore, with a flood or a fall, low lull off, or all roar. Frequenting there, while moon shall veer and wend. The lines mean that two loud and forceful sounds are heard by the poet's two ears. These sounds come from opposite directions as he stands by or walks along the seashore. And both these sounds are as old as the world of nature, and these sounds will never end. From the right hand comes the noise of the tides regularly striking against the shore. With each wave, the water floods the shore and then recedes with a corresponding alternation in sound. There is a brief pause after the breaking of the wave, and the pause is followed by the roar of the next wave. This alternating noise will continue to attend upon the seashore as long as the moon continues to wax and wane. That is, because the tides are controlling the movement and the size of the moon. The size of the moon controls the movement of the waves. So as the moon will continue to change its size, it will continue to control the movement of the tides. That's all for today's lecture. I'll continue with the poem in my next video. Thank you.